Welcome back to the Smite Pro League. Finch here. I got Aggro with me as well. And again, we're taking a look at Europe today. In fact, we're looking at NRG going up against Obey, some perennial powerhouses we're looking at.
I mean, when the schedule was released and, you were looking at the rosters, I feel like everyone was excited about this matchup because when teams just straight up swap one role, one for the other, you know that they're each going to want to find that victory, and that's especially true here between NRG and Obey. Look, it's no secret, if you read Twitter, you know that iRaffer and emilZy aren't chummy particularly, and I'm excited to see how they play up against one another and who's going to come out on top.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This is where we had that roster swap, supports for supports, exactly like he said, and we're going to see if these two teams can duke it out. I mean, it seems like these two teams are always up near the top, Ryan. In particular, this Obey squad, so consistent, but you see him there, iRaffer slid into that photo, looking like he's been there all along. Prime, though, really does feel like sort of the catalyst for this roster. He's also the one you all can follow along with on that POV cam that you all voted for.
Yeah, this is one of those metas where I feel like PrettyPriMe needs to take the forefront. The problem is a lot of the prime gods that he's known for, namely the Vulcan, those burst gods in the late game, aren't as good in this current meta. It's more things like this, the Agni, the Raijin a little bit, though I still think it's a little bit moving away from that. I love to see him pull out the Zeus, but I'm basically always rooting for someone to pull out the Zeus. But this is, if you're an Obey fan, you've got to be excited about this type of meta where you can really let your mid lane star and PrettyPriMe shine.
Yeah, especially through that mid game, like you were saying, where those mages are so strong. They come online, it feels like pretty early, and he gets to pair up with CaptainTwig in the jungle. I mean, having someone like that to set you up in that mid lane, to facilitate for the team, and then trusting Prime to follow up on that always works.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just a squad that has so much talent together and works very well as a unit. Now, this is the kind of the rocky start that I think some Obey fans may have been expecting, because even though CaptainTwig and PrettyPriMe work very well together, as I just said, Obey Alliance's identity is working together as an entire unit, and when you switch out a support, it's going to take some time to get there, especially with iRaffer's playstyle, which is very unique to him, and NRG, it always plays around it very well. If Obey can do the same, I think they're going to be a really, really scary squad.
Well, let's talk a little bit here about their opponents, NRG. Man, who would have thought coming into this game that, I mean, I know we're only in week 1, but these are two squads that are towards the bottom of the bracket right now, so they both still have some things to prove, but Adapting in particular, long considered to be the best or one of the best players in the world, and this is a jungler's meta, a good time to have someone this strong on your roster.
Absolutely. Just as I was talking about, PrettyPriMe fans have got to be excited about this meta, so should Adapting fans. It's pretty hard to call him anything but the best jungler to ever play the game, and this is the type of meta where he can really, really shine. Now, is he still in that prime where he can be the dominant player in every single match he plays? It still remains to be seen. I mean, we've only seen him once so far here in Season 5, and that was against a really, really good rival squad, but man, did he individually look good in that set. I feel like, I said it during Week 1, that was our opening game of the SPL here in Season 5. NRG loses, but it'd be hard to come away from that set as anything but excited as an NRG fan. They look like they're poised to really make a run here.
We're going to see just how poised NRG are right now as we move into Game 1 between them and Obey. NRG are going to be the first picks, and I'm excited to see if they try and prioritize. As you said, something for Adapting. These junglers are so heavily prioritized right now between Nemesis, Daji, Serket, Camazotz. There's so many of them to try and pick up right now.
Absolutely, and if I'm NRG, I'm looking for that Daji in the first pick, in the first pick slot.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's the most impactful jungler right now, even though she seems to be the one that slips through the picks and bans more often than something like a Nemesis or a Serket. Man, every time Daji gets played, you can really feel that impact. And the Nemesis Ullr bans are really good bans by NRG if that's the direction they want to go for. And with the Giannis ban here from Obey, I'd be pretty surprised if NRG goes any other way but the Daji.
And I like this by Obey. They leave something strong up in the jungler for themselves. Nuwa going to be in the initial selection by NRG.
First pick.
So if they're not particularly picky about whether or not they get Daji or Serket, then this isn't too big a deal because they'll pick the other one, I imagine.
That's true. That's a good point. That both are open, so you kind of get one or the other. But Nuwa being the first thing off the board, Chulainn here is available.
True.
They could have given to maniaKK, could have even given to emilZy if they want to keep that sort of theme of that support Chulainn going. Nuwa just seems to be a little bit overvalued in my mind right now. She's good, she's safe, she has, I mean, Soul Gem is an unbelievable item for her that's making her ultimate do a lot more damage than you're used to in the early to mid game, but first pick just seems like not exactly where I'd want to go if I'm on NRG. But, I mean, this is a team that historically has done very, very well during picks and bans.
Yeah.
And if this is one of those situations where they don't have anything that they think is worthy of being first picked, they don't want to go for the dodgy because maybe they would rather have the Ravana in this particular matchup based on what they think Obey is going to go for. It could end up being one of those situations where you just pick something, see what Obey is going to go for, and then adjust your draft accordingly afterwards.
And prioritizing something for Yammyn, you are never going to go wrong doing that. At least that's how I feel. I mean, that's such a strong player for that NRG roster. We saw Ravana and Fafnir be the continued selections for them. This Ravana jungle is where we've seen it lately. It's been very powerful. That certainly could be something adapting can do well. And then Obey go with Terra Ra. So some control on Terra, some sustain to pair with that Ra as well. But really the big story with her is that ultimate.
Exactly. And the level 1, being able to stop your minion wave from actually pushing forward. That means that any pressure on the left-hand side is almost nullified because they don't have a wave to clear. They don't have anything to farm up, whereas you on your side will have a wave to farm up. That's one of the reasons that Terra is actually being prioritized fairly heavily right now. Serket and Camazot's bans here by NRG, really looking, even with the dodgy locked in already for Obey. Guess they were worried that Terra was going to go towards the solo lane, and then they could have picked something like a Serket support or a Camazot solo. And that was the flex pick option. It looks like they were right because Obey locking in Geb tells me that Terra is almost certainly in solo.
Yeah, and don't forget, I know we were used to iRaffer being on Energy, but he is on Obey now, and he's the one that we've seen play that Serket support. He's happy to play an assassin over there in that support role. So that's Energy recognizing that playstyle and making sure they potentially ban it out. And as you said, potentially catching them out by making sure they have to pick Geb here. Anhur and Chulainn, though, are going to be those last two selections for Energy. Getting the 5th pick Chulainn, at least on your own roster, that's a good feeling.
It's pretty good, absolutely. I mean, as much as I wasn't in love with the first pick Nuwa for Energy, I love the rest of the draft afterwards.
Yeah.
If you just say that this is the draft they got, I'd say, all right, they probably first picked Ravana and then got really good gods after that, or the Chulainn, either one. So it doesn't really matter in the end what order you pick them in. The fact that you got them is the important thing. Jing Wei locked in here last for Obey, just trying to make sure that Ataraxia, one of his favorite gods, also very safe. Anhur can't really leap onto the Jing Wei and combo her because she can just agility off the knockup.
That's exactly right. Well, Aggro, we are just about ready to get it over to the casters, but I got to ask you here, we're looking at these two big names. Who you got, Energy or Obey?
I think I've got Energy in game 1.
Energy in game 1. Well, you heard it here. Let's get it over to the casters to take this one away.
Thanks a lot, boys. Last time we saw these guys, Energy winds up on top. Tom and Toli here to bring you the action. This time around, I think Obey have a better shot.
You know, it's very possible, depending on how they've done their homework. Thus far, not having the greatest success in Season 5, some growing pains to go for Obey Alliance, but I think that it's more importantly how they bounce back from it.
Sure. For me, it's just about time in the oven. I think that watching the trade that happened during the offseason, EmilZy, previously support for Obey, goes over to Energy and vice versa. iRaffer now playing for Obey. I got that right. iRaffer plays for Obey and Energy has EmilZy now. I think that iRaffer's playstyle takes a little bit of time to get acclimated to.
Absolutely. I think that both of these supports going to have a different style with their traditional hunters. Ataraxia has kind of changed his style as a hunter, so kind of adjusting with iRaffer, who's been known to play more aggressive than normal. He's going to be having a good time if he's playing that aggressive warrior that he really likes.
Sure, I don't think it's about the warrior. I think it's just about the playstyle. A lot of times, iRaffer puts himself behind enemy lines, and his team has to come and sort of play, and that's how he initiates. I think it worked a lot better when he had a team of players that knew exactly what he was doing. Coming into this new roster, a little bit of time to get used to it. But we already have 1 week down in the books, week number two here in the Smite Pro League. And looking at where we're going from here, I think the future is very bright for Obey Alliance.
I think the future is very bright for Energy on the flip side as well. You know, making the necessary adjustments since they've lost Emmy, having maniaKK step into that solo lane now with a different support as well. I think it's really refreshing to have this kind of a player inside of them. I was actually listening to one of their streams, and when it was EmilZy duo queuing with adapting at one time, there was a funny little interaction where they were pushing for the end. And adapting didn't really think that they could end during that one specific rain game. And EmilZy made the call to end, and adapting followed the end of the game.
Well, that goes down to the classic, right? Everybody following the wrong call will eventually turn it into the right call, as long as everybody's on the same page.
To start things off here, though, we saw a triple start from Team Dignitas in the previous set. this time around. I'm not too sure how NRG really wants to go about it, but with emilitoo right here, it might be a similar story where a lot of these European teams are trying to get that mid lane pressure to look for the red buff invade afterwards.
Right. It's what we're seeing out of NRG here is multi-layered play. Essentially, sticking the Hunter over here in the mid lane is going to do what you talked about as far as the presence is concerned and the push and the pressure, but also going to deter any invade on the speed buff. If Obey wanted to go ahead and look for that, it just wouldn't be available because there's too many players here in NRG jerseys.
There's also plenty of time to make those rotations happen before the minions truly spawn. emilitoo still around the corner from the right side mid Harpies. I like what maniaKK is doing here, trying to get the proxy wave. But look what Xaliea did there, actually. He's delayed some of those archers, which prevented maniaKK from throwing the spear right off the bat.
And Xalia's going to be able to go to lane, but he's going to have some trouble because he's going to have to tank those minions too, right?
maniaKK is just going to actually full clear this wave at level 1. No one is going to be contesting him simply because of this transformation. Having some damage over time from Azora. It took him quite a while, though, to do this wave, but he's going to be able to invade the blue buff because meanwhile, Xaliea has to sit in his tower.
Look at that blink to put himself behind the opposition, and nobody expected the blink on her. But now it's emilitoo in some trouble. Who's going to get the first blood? It's Emil. NRG with a hot play showing up.
Taking a page out of Vote's book. The blink hunter play, whether it's the Uller, the Anhur, a really aggressive start coming out of emilitoo. He's not one normally known to make these kinds of aggressive level 1 plays. He's kind of patiently waiting. He's your silent hunter killer. But hold this thought, though. emilZy is going to walk into 2 people.
And emilitoo's going to provide some help, find the impale, and CaptainTwig in some trouble. Nice jump, but not far enough to get the knockup onto the Daji. She uses her jump to safely get to iRaffer, who gets rooted after the fact. Rollout's going to be canceled. iRaffer now in some trouble. Yammyn and adapting surrounded. The stun is good. Daji from around the corner. Damage could come from the jungler, but not until the support lane falls. Yammyn still alive for the moment. Can't get it. CaptainTwig.
Still doing a good amount of damage. That CaptainTwig is less than 50% health. Man, already this game is kicking off with a blast compared to the last set. It was 10-2 in the first set of the first game after 30 minutes of play. And already we're getting 3 kills, not even 2 minutes in. And I like the style that both teams are willing to explore between the purple buff invade, between looking for the blink on her play. It just goes to show that these teams here in Season 5 are really willing to stretch their playbooks.
Absolutely. Just really got to pay attention to how these teams are really executing. CaptainTwig right now might get executed himself here. maniaKK does not have the jump available, so the Daji with the speed buff walks away, no problem.
In the dual lane, a little bit of a slow start for emilZy, sitting at level 2, as opposed to iRaffer that's been level 3 despite finding that early death. Just goes to show that sometimes splitting the wave a little bit too much could be a troublesome factor here, as iRaffer probably got a lot of solo waves in that dual lane. And on her Fafnir, a great aggressive dual lane composition against the Jing Wei. Ataraxia really known for this kind of passive hunter play style back in Season 3. Made some adjustments in Season 4, but it seems that he's kind of like switching of what style he wants here, at least in Season 5.
Well, it's 2-1 so far in the early game, just 3 minutes in, and just as many kills as Ataraxia gets stunned and then stunned again. Knocked up one more time. No ultimate available for the Anhur. So emilitoo's going to have to turn away.
A great matchup for Ataraxia, considering that once he gets jumped on by emilitoo, can use the agility dash away, preventing potentially the impale after the fact.
A little bit of free stuff for Obey Lions down on the left side. NRG with a very slight lead, brought to you pretty much by that first blood. maniaKK trying to pressure Xaliea over here and adapting. He's farming the wave secretly, so he's keeping that information close to his chest.
He definitely got spotted out, though, with that level up. Has a pretty loud animation as well as visuals, so knowing that the Ravana jungle is hiding around the corner of the solo lane, the call made by Xaliea allows the rest of his teammates to play a little safer or a little bit more freely to maybe look for an aggressive play on the opposite side.
Mid lane, however, interesting matchup here. The Nuwa going to be completely out of mana, so Yammyn likely to head home and doesn't seem to have enough gold in hand to really fill up that Warlock staff. So he'll have to back here and not going to be stacking just yet.
I love the new resurgence of Nua in Season 5. Not really played too often in Season 4, something that's been more of a comfort pick for most players as opposed to a comfort meta pick. But nowadays, with Assassins leading charge in Season 5, it's all about how you keep yourself alive as a mid-mage. Granted, Nua can't really escape with a dash away like a, let's say, a Scylla 3, but has enough damage to compensate to blow up the Assassin when targeted.
Plus, she's got the ultimate that's going to take her to the sky and be relatively safe, as well as the stun. maniaKK has control of this lane, so much so that he gets a 5-minute tower. I mean, there's losing your lane gracefully, and then there's that.
So this is out of his control. He purposely picked a losing matchup.
Out of Xalia's control?
Yeah, this is out of Xalia's control because the Guardian versus Warrior matchup is usually hard enough as it is, unless you're a Sobek solo laner. Can't really box into a Croc that gets 21 free protections off the passive. But as a Terra, you're really useless at level 1. You don't really have your combination of dashing through your monolith off of your stun wall. Hold that thought, though, because Adapting jumps in.
And there's going to be help from the left-hand side as CaptainTwig finds an entrance. EmilZy is going to jump away, but the chainsaw might be good. That's going to be the ultimate from PrettyPriMe, and EmilZy takes care of iRaffer. CaptainTwig turns around and takes care of that one, but he's going to fall as soon as Yammyn has a chance to pay attention. 2 dead for Ove Alliance. NRG walk away, only losing their support.
A beautiful trade there. EmilZy laughing as he's going to revive right about now. Beautiful comeback there. Adapting, really not afraid to make those kinds of play styles. And because he's playing this Ravana jungle, actually opted for Purification Bead, surprisingly, despite having the overhead kick, despite having Mystic Rush, really is worried about getting locked down by both iRaffer and CaptainTwig. If you have to use one of your escapes and then you get pulled in by Twig, you're going to be in a world of hurt.
Pretty much. So nice nice attention paid to the defense from our players here. Left side, EmilZy and emilitoo. You've got aggression. You were mentioning that earlier, Tully, but we've yet to really see that exerted out of lane. Now, it's only 6 minutes in, 7 minutes in, but when can we expect to see these guys really rotate and make their presence known?
Usually the Hunter lane matchup is a waiting game. It's been like that for a while, but this time around more so than ever with these blessings introduced in Season 5. Taking 75 stacks right off the bat takes quite a bit of time, not to mention that there's going to be some more stacks from emilitoo going for Transcendence. Finished off the boots first, whereas Ataraxia hasn't really committed to one or the other. Didn't go for Devil Gloves, didn't go for Transcendence. Instead, opted for the Mace at level 1 for 650 gold. You get that 15 physical power, and that really helps clear the wave considering Jing Wei's second ability, which has that AoE splash.
Right, you're just going to be able to find the clear that way. maniaKK now 25% HP, going to immune the stun, but here comes iRaffer. Nice knock-up, a beautiful escape from the Portuguese powerhouse. There's going to be the chain, though. Not grabbing him.
Second immunity. Warcry was good from maniaKK, but jumping in is Adapting. Transforming is emilZy. Stunned out is Xaliea. He's already behind, and even more so now.
That's going to be kill number 5. iRaffer being chased down here. And the Nua team has all the information in the world. iRaffer, nice little stun there for the moment, but his shield will allow him to say no to NRG. So NRG still in the lead by a drastic amount, 2,000 gold at 8 minutes in. It's that timing that really bothers me, Tully.
That's true. That was a small kill opportunity onto maniaKK, but that's the power of Chulainn, man. Once you transform, you get a shield buff. You also get that extra movement speed from your Vent Anger. And then you get a second immunity from the Warcry, which disabled the chain from CaptainTwig. Without any hesitation, immediately proc the Warcry, fearful in case of the snap cancel from the Dodgy. And also, I like what CaptainTwig did there. Despite knowing that iRaffer was in trouble and probably was going to die, surprised that he even lived there, to be honest. But he recognized that there's no way I can save iRaffer here. There's no one else that I can kill. Let me secure my own blue buff. That's the way you can really tell the true min-max potential out of your SPL jungler.
Just understanding all of the tiny windows is really what you got to look for, whether it be buff invades or what have you. The smallest of opportunities is how the best teams find themselves in the lead early and often. Speaking of in the lead early, NRG are in a good spot for any composition, but specifically for this composition. This team really hits its stride in the mid game.
Especially with the level advantage that they have onto the solo lane matchup. maniaK 1 level ahead, almost probably 2 once he clears 1 more wave. This has been a rough start for Xaliea that's playing the Guardian solo laner. He's normally known to innovate a little bit in that solo lane, along the likes of, picking Isis every now and then. So far experimented in Season 5 as well, going for the Hell one game, Chang'e another. Didn't really have success on those mages, but going for a Guardian such as Terra allows the rest of his teammates that more utility, the more control, but it's not a pick that's going to win you your lane.
Right, and it's very rarely going to win. It's all about control. And one of the nice things that I like about Terra, speaking to some of the pros, is the fact that, well, the jump away from Dodgy is good, forcing out emilitoo's ultimate. And that's going to be enough for Obey Alliance to get on the aggressive, actually, in the left side jungle.
Well, pressure was applied by NRG. It even forced out Xalia's Terra's Blessing. The disengage occurred. Desert Fury being used there. I'm totally fine with that from emilitoo. Very short cooldown, 75 seconds. It'll even get reduced by 7.5 once that Transcendence is completed. Just now finishing off that item, as emilZy is going to have to dash away from CaptainTwig. emilitoo has definitely not been afraid to fight this game, blinking in at the drop of a dime.
Yeah, I mean, that's standard for Emil. Tossing him with the blink onto the Anhur. This is a guy and a character that wants to fight early and often. Again, talking to that mid game. It's all about the mid game for this NRG team.
Different playstyle as well from these two supports. Rushing the Gauntlet of Thebes is emilZy, already sitting at about 8 stacks, whereas iRaffer probably going to be looking to finish off the Sovereignty, get the health, get the protections, and then apply that HP 5 and protection aura for the rest of his teammates. There's a slight power curve where Sovereignty does outweigh the beginning stages of Gauntlet of Thebes, but once you finish capping off this item, emilZy is going to have the better power spike by far.
Pyromancer the target for NRG Esports, able to bring it down to about 75 before Obey even have an idea of what's going on. maniaK turning away, and him and the rest of the squad will leave the Pyromancer alone. Instead, look towards iRaffer for the moment, but then walk away again.
Not too much vision here around the Gold Fury offensively from NRG. It's more offensive vision coming from Obey Alliance to spot out these rotations, knowing that Adapting can easily dive, and a Ravana that already finished a Crusher is going to be dealing a considerable amount of burst damage grouped up around the blue buff from Xaliea, really not wanting maniaK any sort of freedom.
And he's going to get jumped on by 3 separate players. A little bit of help from the Terra for Obey Alliance's aggression. CaptainTwig grabs 1. There's maniaK's immunity, and he's going to pop it, but can't say the same for emilZy. He's going to pop his ultimate of his own.
Wow, the chain.
Knocked up.
The chain was great. The Cataclysm into the knockup right before emilZy jumped. iRaffer, man, he still got it.
And again, didn't need it, but had some help from the Fire Giant. If emilZy lasted a second longer, Fire Giant actually winds up getting the last hit on that kill. So I like when teams make use of the big guy for the knockup.
It's always one of those funny little instances whenever there's a fight around a Gold Fury and a Fire Giant, just to see how that 6th man takes action. Nice try from PrettyPriMe. Normally you go for the blind snipe expecting the mid-mage to start it up, and you try to time it to find the last hit. And considering Searing Pain has such a short cooldown as you're maxing out this ability, and there's going to be no team fight, I'm totally fine with that play.
Yeah, you usually toss out the ultimate from the Ra. PrettyPriMe on a... You know, it's interesting. PrettyPriMe on a very basic god for what I am used to seeing him on much more active characters.
Ouch.
No chance to even talk about that one. Dodgy just comes into the lane and eliminates emilitoo.
That's what happens when you don't have purification beats. I'm not gonna be surprised if we're seeing a Mad Guy's Cloak shortly after from emilitoo, something that a lot of these hunters have been starting to do in Season 5. And look at this, Tier 2 already purchased.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle, to say the least. Gold Fury, a little bit early. Both of these teams are even right now. I thought Obey Alliance were going to group up for the cheeky Gold Fury with the PrettyPriMe ultimate, but I was a little scared about that one. So I'm glad they opt not to do so.
I mean, with emilitoo dead still for a little while back then, there was a small, tiny window, but the damage from NRG is just a little bit too strong, not to mention Yammyn's global ultimate, now sitting at that level 3 ultimate. with level 13 just now being acquired. He's going to be starting to bring quite the punch.
Meanwhile, CaptainTwig in some trouble. He's going to have to go on the Powwow defensively, but can turn around and look for the offense. No pulls. New ultimate does the do. CaptainTwig still alive for the moment.
Adapting was forced to use the beads there against the Powwow. That could be another secondary engage with iRaffer blinking in, maybe potentially finding the Cataclysm. Very difficult, though, to try to do that against a Ravana that still has the overhead kick, has the Mystic Rush, and NRG feeling frisky around this Pyromancer.
Xalia's here, but really not much to offer. Different story for iRaffer and PrettyPriMe. However, as PrettyPriMe walks towards, drops his blind and also this one, but not able to find it. Now looking and being zoned out. PrettyPriMe not going to be able to provide the ultimate. So NRG zoned very well. Really credit to the two zone players, the support and the solo, to pull that off.
Great ultimate from Ataraxia, preventing the Impale from stunning him against the wall. Blink was used, but a shorter cooldown on the Jing Wei ultimate. A great use of defensive mechanisms by Ataraxia.
Gold Fury going to be the focus for Obey Alliance, trailing by about 2,000 gold here, totally, give or take, but Obey can still and want to fight into it. Double hit coming out from the ultimate from PrettyPriMe. Left side, we see Lobster just try to get out of there. Yammyn, excuse me. Last game still in my brain, but the nuance still going to be hit in the brain. One shot from PrettyPriMe. The follow-up won't be there, but adapting takes care of CaptainTwig. It's jungle for middle lane, and Obey aren't done yet.
Not done. maniaKK caught between a rock and a hard place. 2 for 1 at the end of the day. Yammyn, no defensive relics. Ultimate was not available. No possible way to escape the Powwow. A great double pick from Obey Alliance that was behind a little bit of gold, but can certainly catch up if they secure this objective. Keep in mind, though, PrettyPriMe, no ultimate for a little bit longer.
No ultimate on adapting either, but we've seen overhead kick really do work in these scenarios. 25% on the objective. Obey Alliance kind of playing with it now. Baiting in front of their enemy. Here comes a little bit more yellow, and it's going to be Obey Alliance successfully confirming their Gold Fury. Now looking for the counterplay. iRaffer picks up EmilZy. Take that.
That was a 3-on-4 that NRG wanted to take, considering Yammyn was coming back up with the ultimate. The chances of NRG stealing the Gold Fury slim to none, but they thought that they could certainly at least find a return kill to look for maybe a tier 1 tower afterwards, but no such luck for NRG that now have to deal with a basically even game, at least in the gold department, but still, it's actually Obey Alliance having the successful experience difference. Even though it was Xaliea that was struggling a lot, multiple levels behind, it's these two hunters that differentiate themselves with such a gap. Ataraxia without a single death, having the Jing Wei passive to not deny himself any sort of farm and going back to the lane at a moment's notice, allows himself to top the charts.
I like the double lifesteal, I think, from Ataraxia. I clarify that statement with I think, because I want to see how this one works out. Bloodforge and the Devo gloves?
To be fair, Bloodforge, 75 physical power,
Yep.
plenty of damage as well against the gods such as the Chulainn on NRG between hidden Emilitoo and Thorns. Even if you upgrade the Thorns to limit some of this lifesteal, it's still going to be a good look for him to just sustain himself a little bit longer, or even at least come back into a team fight, heal off of those back harpies around the Fire Giant buff, heal off of the blue buff, or even just go back to the fountain with the Jing Wei passive.
I mean, it's going to be like going to the fountain anyway, just with that amount of lifesteal. Single camp, you're going to be pretty much full HP.
Something that a lot of players don't do that I've noticed actually is you don't have to clear the camp when you're low in lifestealing. You can like leave it at 50% health and then reset, allow it to get back to full health, and then look for the constant lifesteal.
Don't do that to Gold Fury or Fire Giant. You'll waste your time. Gold Fury and Fire Giant actually isn't there like a lifesteal? They don't like that?
Well, Fire Giant definitely is a big important factor, but Gold Fury, no, you can still lifesteal off of Gold Fury. You can actually leash the Gold Fury as a hunter, hit it about 2 to 3 times depending on your attack speed, and then reset it. It'll go back to its original spot, and then you'll just be constantly healing.
My mistake then. I actually thought there was a lifesteal reduction on those objectives.
Well,
that's my fault. Sorry, team.
There was a change towards minions of yesteryear where if you overkilled a minion, you wouldn't get the full lifesteal of the damage that you deal, but only based on the health that was remaining on the minion.
Right now, mid lane, me and Tully splitting hairs here. Obey Alliance, on the other hand, trying to cut hair. Trying to go to work. 1,000 gold lead here, almost 20 minutes in.
NRG and Obey not going to be splitting this series any longer in Season 5 with this best-of-3 format. Xaliea, yet again, just getting slightly bullied out by maniaKK. It's so difficult as a Terra Guardian to keep up with the clear of a warrior, especially such as Chulainn, but at the end of the day, he's been making his presence really felt in these team fights with the build. Lotus Crown applying the 20 protections for his team that's standing under the healing monolith, and then that hardwood amulet giving not only himself the MP5 aura and the magical protections, but also the gods that really need the mana to keep spamming the abilities. More Raw sustain, more Geb shields. It's going to be a good, long team fight for Obey Alliance towards the end game.
Obey now looking toward that end game. How do they get there? I mean, right now it's even, and perhaps shouldn't be. They've let NRG sort of claw their way back in.
It's just a matter of who's going to be able to get anything after the picks. Neither team was able to really control the towers the way they wanted to. Terra's blessing being used, Obey Alliance feeling themselves is going to aggress forward.
And that's going to be the team fight. Here comes CaptainTwig looking directly at adapting, cutting him down to about half HP already. Wiggles, and that'll be good enough, but maniaKK going to get grabbed up and pulled to the table. Half HP on the solo lane. Nice knock-up, but not a lot of damage until this point. Hunter goes deep, drawing out the ultimate, and that's going to be a nice look. Blinking forward comes out iRaffer, finds the Cataclysm, and now Obey Alliance have the gas.
Yeah, using the beads just to stop the Terra stun. maniaKK transforming, getting the Warcry onto 3 members, but it's only him and emilZy. That could have easily been an energy tower dive if they were healthy enough. The healing from both PrettyPriMe and Xaliea is allowing Obey Alliance to stay in these team fights for as long as they have been.
No Fire Giant call from Obey Alliance. A little bit too low, like you mentioned.
It's also 5 members still standing from NRG, even if they did have to back to the fountain. The burst damage from Obey Alliance is not quite there to the point where they can get the Fire Giant in about, 6.3 seconds or whatever the record is.
Not going to be the case here just yet. 6 to 7. Read the kills. Obey Alliance with 7 out of them. And 21 minutes on the clock, excuse me. I'm like 10 minutes in the future. Actually, I'm going to pretend like I planned that. Hey, Tully, do you think we're going to reach that minute 31?
Oh, absolutely. I think so. Considering the first set, the way it went, it seems that all these teams are going back to Season 2. The Season 2 European style, where how games kind of dragged out a little bit longer. Low kill counts, but long games because they were playing very methodically about going for the objectives when it was at prime opportunity. Tier 1 towers of the solo and duo from Obey Alliance stripped away, but NRG only lost the 1 on the solo lane, so they're kind of chilling right now.
Uh-oh. Nice pull. That's going to stop CaptainTwig from following into the jungle. Never know who's lurking there. Obviously, the Anhur did have 2 players at his disposal, but Obey play it safe. They don't take the bait.
You know who's not lurking in this game?
Don't say it.
Sobek.
Sobek. Left side Gold Fury. I was going to make an even worse joke. Left side Gold Fury started up by NRG. 25% already. Looks like they're just in denial.
It's
Tully has actually just muted his microphone at this point. He does not want to deal with me right now. So, chat, it's me and you, baby. And, of course, NRG and Obey. 10 players on the field right now, and 8 of them have been on their respective teams for over a year.
Sorry, you caught me off guard there. I needed a moment to collect myself. I'm actually tearing up.
Raffer and emilZy, though. I keep mentioning this because this is such an interesting trade. And let me... Usually I don't touch into the quote-unquote drama too much, but I think it just feeds into our story so much more. Raffer and emilZy actually don't like each other after the trade. So swapping different teams, not really best friends, this is much more than a regular season game, Tully. This is a grudge match.
Oh, absolutely. You can definitely even see the rivalry between them on Twitter every now and then, just taking shots at each other, talking about each other's playstyle, talking about each other's performance and builds and whatnot. They'll criticize each other till the end of the world.
And basically what you get, and the reason I love it, is just two different points of view. We'll dive into that in a moment, but right now, well, it's all about the Gold Fury again. Half HP and Obey Alliance are in control, looking for the fight after the fact. Nuwa goes to the sky, CaptainTwig goes to the pole. Picking up one. Wait for it. There's the pull. No follow-up, however, as CaptainTwig goes to the left-hand side.
Everyone is zoned away by EmilZy. Nice counter blink, trying to run away from Anhur, but now he's going to have to go back into the team fight. He's still trying to chase down CaptainTwig underneath. Meanwhile, the team fight progressing towards Obey's purple buff. PrettyPriMe trying to survive on the left side. Gonna get taken out by adapting. Great chase.
Nice kills from NRG. This will be number 8. 7-1 on the board. Xaliea eventually will fall down. There it is. Adapting picks up the 8th kill of the contest. And Gold Fury started by Obey. The fight started by Obey. And NRG actually going to take care of this. But all the while, Obey's been a little bit busy. Twiggy, where you at?
He went underneath the tier 2 middle tower, between the tier 2 middle tower and the Phoenix, went all the way towards Soul Lane, abusing the fact that the minions were closer to the tier 2 tower. At least Obey Alliance respond in kind with an objective, keeping themselves ahead of NRG ever so slightly in the gold department 25 minutes into the game. But Obey Alliance starting off that team fight was a little awkward to me, considering that CaptainTwig focused his attention onto adapting Ravana.
Yeah.
Not the prime target you want to go on. It's got to be a hyper carry.
Well, Fire Giant this time started by NRG, but here comes Ravana walking right into the enemy base. He's going to be stunned a little bit, but NRG are able to confirm their own Fire Giant. Now Obey looking for the cleanup, and EmilZy is low, but it's all about emilitoo. Turn around. CaptainTwig and adapting both get spent. 10 kills for NRG, and everybody on NRG are good. Adapting go to the next level and picking up 2.
They're fueled up after that one. Not only did they claim themselves that late game objective, but claiming the lives of 3 Obey members. CaptainTwig teleporting into that team fight got met with plenty amount of clay golems right in his face.
Yeah, really rough stuff for Obey as they had control of this game for the moment, but NRG snatch it away. And you brought something up there, was that CaptainTwig went on a target, but Yammyn was just waiting.
Yep. That's the beauty of Nuwa. You pick this goddess because you want to abuse the engage from the enemy jungler. PrettyPriMe getting CC'd and locked down. Yammyn with the last hit as NRG claims their first middle Phoenix of the game.
Top player damage right there for Yammyn as NRG walk away, looking for the right side of the map. And just because I don't want to leave it as an incomplete statement, emilZy and iRaffer come from 2 very different schools of thought. And what's wonderful as a commentator or an onlooker from the outside is that, frankly, Toli, I don't think either one of them is correct. I think they're both correct. emilZy approaches the game very book-focused, all about the stats and the X's and O's. iRaffer approaches the game as a pure field player.
It's also their age difference as a result,
sure,
right?
But iRaffer lets the game come to him. And both of them think that they are the better approach to the game. And when you look at it, both of them have had incredible success. So as an onlooker, as a commentator, as an analyst, I think they're both right. But they both know that they're right. So when they go head-to-head, it's just fun to watch.
So far, so good for EmilZy, despite having a score of 2, 3, and 8. On the flip side, iRaffer sitting at 1, 3, and 5. It's not necessarily about the score lines whenever we talk about supports. It's what they do throughout the game. And EmilZy doing a good job of penetrating the backline, keeping Obey busy. But iRaffer, the way he times his lockdowns between the Cataclysm and the knockup is one of the best of the world that I've seen recently.
Sure. Yeah, no, I really enjoy it. Why don't you bring us to that next level?
It was just about how he was able to stop EmilZy from even using that jump earlier on. Just really min-maxing the duration of that little gray bar that goes across your screen for when a target gets hard locked down.
Left side going to be the approach here. NRG in control. Keep an eye on maniaKK. He does have the flank available to him. iRaffer on the Rockman will be front and center for Obey Alliance. Knockup is good. Minions come in. Here comes the rest of NRG. And Yammyn going to look for a stun. iRaffer in some trouble. 25% HP. CaptainTwig up on the powwow as well. Gonna look for adapting, who does have that Magi's Blessing, so no harm, no foul, except CaptainTwig gets fouled, and he's fouled out! Yammyn with the kill, opens up the left side Phoenix, and the rest of them pile damage into the bird.
And that's going to be another Phoenix for NRG. They can easily end the game with that one pick. Without CaptainTwig, the backline is free to do what they want. EmilZy jumps in with the Draconic form. The Titan getting lower and lower, and NRG are looking to claim their first game.
Yeah, half HP on the Titan, still playing defense is Obey. In fact, Xaliea picks one up, but the jump on the other side, and emilitoo follows up. NRG take game one.
Beautiful play out of NRG. They really closed the game out rather quickly considering when they got the Fire Giant around the 25-minute mark. We were talking about how this game might progress a little bit longer and how evenly matched these two teams were, but getting that middle Phoenix after killing CaptainTwig and getting the Fire Giant kind of burst the door wide open for NRG.
Yeah, that's really what you're looking for here in this matchup between two very, very clean teams. I think it's the ability to just burst through, and usually that one team fight is going to be the turning point in that game. We've got one, maybe two more games up to us. Depends on how well Obey does. And it's aggro, and it's Finch. Break us down.
Thank you, Tom and Tolly, for taking us through that game. NRG, though, are the ones who managed to find that win. They look impressive doing it, Ryan.
I'll say, what was Adapting's final scoreline? 6-0, something else, 7 or 8, something like that. He continues to look really, really good so far in this short season. EmilZy looks pretty good as well. He was able to have a pretty decent impact on that Fafnir. And the Nuwa first pick ends up working out pretty well for Yammyn. He was near the top of the player damage charts all game long.
Yeah, Yammyn was great that game, but Adapting is the one that was selected by Mixer Chat, thank you all, as the MVP of that game, and I can't blame him. 13,000 damage on that Robin selection. He was really the one that was getting everything started for him, this Robin pick. We talked about how important these junglers are right now in this season. Adapting continuing to show us why.
And it's not like Adapting was off to a massive lead early on or anything like that. There's an early kill here onto his old teammate, but I mean, he was level 3 while CaptainTwig was sitting at level 5. So he did a good job of staying relevant despite a slight XP disadvantage in the very early game. Now he ended up being able to catch up and be, even if not ahead of CaptainTwig in the mid game. But this was just really, really strong team play from NRG. I mean, even early on, the blink on her Impale to find the first blood for NRG. Are you kidding me? Like, I feel like only Emo goes for something like that in the early game, and then executes it to pure perfection. Not only did he hit the blink Impale, but that didn't miss a single auto as they chased Ataraxia and PrettyPriMe into the mid lane to find that first blood.
And I was just going to ask you about this here too, Ryan. Right now, it doesn't feel like the Hunters are as big of an impact maybe as some of the other roles like jungle, like the mid laner. No one told emilitoo that this game, it seemed like to me, you're right, he looked excellent early game and he can carry it out the entire game.
He really did. Plus, you got to give credit where it's due to Ataraxia on the other side as well. I mean, he played really, really well. He was the top damage dealer for Obey in that game by a large margin, and he was very close to the top overall player damage. So I think this whole Hunters are, you know, way less impactful than they used to be thing is a little bit overblown. Yes, in the early game and mid game, they are worse than they were before, mostly because they're just dying to the pressure from assassins that they weren't before. But in the late game, nothing really changed for them. Yes, they're on the other side, you know, you have to be worried about the assassins, but mages in the late game are worse than they were previously because of the lack of Rod of Tahuti, and then you